Thank you, everybody. And again, welcome and thank you for having us today. I've been with Geotab 19 years now, originally here in South Africa before moving to the UK. What we're going to talk about today is totally different from the concepts and everything that we've heard earlier on. I'm an accountant by training, but an engineer by profession. Very, very hands-on and getting involved with what are we doing on the ground. A big part of what Geotab does has always been focused on connecting to a vehicle. And that's all very clever. What is a vehicle? A vehicle we understand normally would be a car, a van, a truck. To us, if I said to you, what is an exotic vehicle? An exotic vehicle, we're all going to think about Aston Martin, Bugatti, those sorts of things. For us at Geotab, that's not an exotic vehicle at all. That's actually terrifyingly simple. Aston Martin, believe it or not, that's a Ford or a Mercedes-Benz. Bentley is Volkswagen. Bugatti, Volkswagen. Ferrari is a Fiat or an Alfa Romeo. They use the same technologies. They're using the same databases, the same engine protocols. Believe it or not, easier to install into a easier to install into a Ferrari 312 than it is into a Fiat 500. I had the pleasure of doing that. What we like to think about as exotic vehicles are these sorts of things. Yellow iron, aimed at our American colleagues. Right? Alternate fuel vehicles, becoming more and more critical. So, for example, electric, gas, all of the exotic vehicles. Powered and off-highway equipment, something that we haven't really touched on. But these sorts of small things, all right? It's a lawnmower, for example, golf carts. We need to be able to track and monitor those because they have real applications. Particularly in Europe, and we're starting to see it move out of Europe into places like Asia and Australia, and without doubt coming to South Africa. With congestion, we're seeing that municipalities, for example, are using smaller and smaller vehicles, the street sweepers that you see on the road. We need to be able to monitor those. And that's a challenge, but it's actually not that hard. Geotab and exotics. Support. We currently we are the world leaders in the industry at supporting electric and hybrid vehicles. And that sounds very easy. Because what's the difference between whether I have a gas-powered, or again, sorry, I've been talking to the Americans, a petrol-powered or diesel-powered van, as opposed to an electric vehicle? Simple. The base is exactly the same. If you put them side by side, they would look exactly the same. They use the same chassis, the same cabs, the interiors. The powertrain is totally different. And because electric vehicles do not have to follow the OBD II standards, OBD was designed for emissions regulations. The electric vehicles don't have to. So their engine protocols either are totally different or they're making it up as they go. From a Geotab point of view, in terms of reverse engineering, that causes a big challenge for us. We have to reverse engineer every single one of those vehicles to be able to capture odometer, to be able to capture state of charge of the battery, to be able to capture those charging events. We currently have installed globally, and that number has changed. We're currently up to about 15,000 hybrids. We're over 750,000, 75,000 EVs, particularly in Europe. We have growing support for CNG and LPG. And so CNG, compressed natural gas, normally added to a diesel tank, and it simply is a much cheaper form of gas. LPG, and I know they are available here in South Africa. We did work with them a couple of years ago. So LPG is an alternative to petrol. It's liquefied petroleum gas. It's a byproduct of the purification process. We currently support 175,000 vehicles globally, which are emitting DEF, the diesel emissions fluid, AdBlue. I'm sure you have it here in South Africa. Again, with Euro 6 engines, it's an additive to the diesel to clean up and remove the particulate matter. Interestingly, and this is a piece of interesting technology, traditionally within Geotab and in our industry, if the vehicle did not have a diagnostic port, OBD or 9-pin Deutsch for heavy trucks, the only way we'd be able to connect to that vehicle is with what we call a 3-wire harness. It would be basic tracking. Power, earth, ignition. You wouldn't get any engine data from that vehicle at all. You would simply get the GPS and accelerometer data. Okay? 2017, we shipped globally 30,000 of those harnesses, which means 30,000 vehicles were installed with a 3-wire harness. 2018, and now in 2019 figures, I think we're up to 1,500 3-wire harnesses. And what that means is that work that we do is reversing engineering vehicles and finding how to connect to these vehicles that previously we didn't know how to do. Customers are now able to connect and gather data. So we're getting CAN data, we're getting all that engine data, which now works into the fleet. You're now getting information from your lawnmower or your street sweeper, exactly the same as you would through your van or your truck or your car. Fuel consumption, usage, billing. So a lot of the street sweepers are contracted to municipalities. We can now prove to them, where did that street sweeper go? And was he actually sweeping the road, or was he just driving up and down having a joyride, right? We're seeing also growing installations into off-highway equipment. South Africa in particular is I talk about them a lot because they've done such a great job. With mining machines. We're seeing globally, we've got a big project in Europe with one of the large farming concerns. We've been starting to monitor tractors, combine harvesters, those sorts of things. Non-traditional telematic solutions. And again, just forms an integral part of the Geotab solution. Particularly aimed at our North American colleagues. Unfortunately, the vehicles you have here in Africa follow us in Europe. So we have a nice standard 16-pin OBD II. North America Volvo trucks, they use a round 9-pin Deutsch connector instead of OBD II. We're starting to see that change. 2014, randomly, there's no legislation about it, but Volvo North America decided to actually start moving to 16-pin, but didn't follow the SAE standards. So again, we had to create a custom harness to be able to deal with those legislations. Multiple CAN lines, and this is an interesting thing. Some of my colleagues will know, was working with Volvo Europe and Volvo and Renault trucks here. We get a lot of data off the OBD port. So we can tell you odometer, we can tell you VIN, we can tell you revs. No fuel data. Volvo in Europe, for whatever reason, information about their fuel consumption is on a totally separate CAN network elsewhere in the vehicle. So again, we have to create a custom harness to be able to integrate those two. Because fuel, from a fleet owner, that's his biggest thing that he wants to control. And I've disappeared, and I think I pressed the wrong button. FMS module. Again, fortunately, this is why we work so closely with our counterparts in Africa. The FMS module, or Fleet Management Solution, is a system designed by the major truck manufacturers of Europe as a gateway. They didn't want anybody hacking into their vehicle and touching all the wires and all those things, and I agree with that. So it's a gateway that puts a certain amount of data into a central point and allows us to connect and download that data. Nice, because in theory, every vehicle in Europe should have one of those. All right? In reality, no, they don't. It's an optional extra. It'll cost a fleet owner upwards of £1,500 to have that unit installed. We are seeing some manufacturers like like Mercedes and Volvo, where the unit is now fitted on the production line, just not activated. And they'll still happily charge you that £1,500 to come along and plug in their computer and switch it on. Ultimately, that should be the way to connect. All the data we want is literally right there, plug in and go. It's a 15-minute installation. We are working on a way to go around that. We actually automate and replicate that FMS application. We have a simple solution. It sounds easy, and those of us who are customers, certainly within our organization, I constantly try to remind my colleagues, especially the newer guys that join the team. So Geotab is fairly unique in the industry. We have one product. We have a Go 7 unit, and I lie, we've got two. In America, we've got a Go 8, because in America, we've got slightly different GSM networks. We also have a Go Rugged device. A Go Rugged is literally a Go 7. We've encased it in IP67 housing. It's used for high risk or high, mining machines, things like that. But I can take that Go 7 or Go Rugged device, and I can plug it into my car right now. It will self-calibrate. It just works. I can take that unit out, plug it into a truck or a tractor or a mining machine. The unit, again, will self-calibrate. You literally plug it in, and it works. Within our industry, that is unique. We look at opposition companies, and we take it for granted how good it is. Where you want to move a unit, well, you've either got to buy an alternate unit. This will work in a BMW, but it's not going to work in your Mercedes. It'll work in your car, but it won't work in your truck. We do that seamlessly with the team that we have. I'm going to skip over that because I've spoken about yellow iron. Okay? Big issue for us with yellow iron in particular. Car, van, bus, probably a lifespan of about 5 to 7 years before it'll change through the fleet. Heavy mileage ones, probably 3 years. With mining machinery in the yellow plant, average lifespan is upwards of 15 years. And we have to be able to cater for that. So yes, I can plug into a 29 Caterpillar, whatever it is, and I can get all the information you want. I have to be able to take that same device, that Go 7 or Go Rugged, and plug it into a 2001 Cat. Right? Big educational part. The customer said, well, on my 2019 Cat, you're giving me this amount of data. On my 2001 Cat, you're only giving me these 4 things. And the way I tried to describe it is, well, you know, your cell phone that you had in 2001, if you were lucky, it sent a text. In 2019, what are you doing on your cell phone? And it's exactly the same with cars and trucks. My mantra, which my colleagues tease me about, we can only tell you what the vehicle tells us. But critically, we will tell you what the vehicle tells us. If the data is there, that's what we're going to find. Good example, I'll touch over that, was an installation where we had to do work with finding a solution to a JCB. So JCB diggers, we all know what JCBs are. They have a fantastic idea, a security solution, that if you plug in any device onto their network, the ECU of the vehicle sees that as a threat, it thinks you're trying to steal the vehicle, and it shuts the vehicle down. Very simple. For us, we put the unit into what we call listen-only mode. So it plugs into the vehicle, and we don't interrogate the vehicle at all. We do no requests on the CAN bus. We simply sit there and listen to what the vehicle tells us. And we're still getting your fuel. We're still getting your RPN. It works very well. Again, part of the project that we did to figure that out. Example we've just done recently where the vehicles, for whatever reason, so generators, small dump trucks. That thing on the right, on top left is a concrete pump. That's got a Caterpillar engine. It's, I think, a 17-liter V8 Caterpillar engine in there that will pump concrete 63 stories into the air. Use it for building skyscrapers in London. Totally non-standard diagnostic connectors. And those of you familiar with the 16-port OBD, right, doesn't exist. There's this little weird 4-pin. In Hitachi machines, this little 6-pin. Again, simply we have the harnesses to connect to that, reverse engineer it, we're good to go. Fortunately, heavy machineries all use J1939 data, so reasonable to do. Asian vehicles. OBD II standards are centralized for Europe and North America, well, America in general, and Australasia. Japanese vehicles Asian vehicles for the Asian market do not follow the OBD II standard. So we're seeing, for example, Hinos, Mitsubishis, some of the Toyotas where they're gray imports into Africa and into Europe, right, do not come with a diagnostic port. They've got these little weird harnesses that we have to connect to. It involves taking that vehicle apart, stripping it out, finding the CAN lines, and building the harness. We can do that. Or we can tell the installer in the region how to do that. Because remember, this is a global part of Geotab. It's not just me living in the UK doing what I do and keeping it myself. We're sharing it with the guys in Africa. Or we're saying to the guys in Africa, oh, you found that solution. How did you do that? Because I want to tell it to the guys in Australia. That's critical. Hybrid and electric vehicles. Tesla. I think at last record that we saw, there are currently 6 Tesla Model S's registered in South Africa. There are 350 electric vehicles that we know of registered in South Africa. Nissan Leaf, BMW i3s, a couple of BMW i8s, and those couple of model Teslas. Tesla, again, electric vehicle, that because of California law, they have to have an OBD port, right? There's no data on there at all. They simply have this OBD port. It's got a power and it's got a little bit of data, tells you the VIN, tells the odometer, that's all. All of the data is done through a proprietary connector that looks like that, hidden under you take the back console, this panel behind the seat, take that out and we connect into there. We have that ability, we now have that as a standard harness, and we build it. Airport transporters, ground service equipment. Again, similar to the idea that we spoke about with these non-traditional vehicles. Fortunately, the ones we did, that was in Germany, Caterpillar, so a nice, easy installation for us. We had to get to the vehicle and figure it out, but as soon as we opened the dashboard, or the engine compartment, there's the big Caterpillar sign, we know what we're looking for, there's the harness. So, how can we help you? In terms of exotic vehicles, think as a salesperson or as a customer, Yes, we're probably looking after your fleet. We're looking after your vans, your cars, your drivers. What other vehicles what other machinery have you got that you need to manage? If you have got compactors, if you've got compressors, if you've got motorbikes, electric scooters are the big rage in Europe at the minute. Everybody driving an electric scooter. We can monitor those for you. Do you need a state of charge? And, you're not going to get an odometer off an electric scooter, I can tell you that. But we can tell you what the battery level is. So if on a rental, the hire companies, well, pull those ones out because they need to be charged. Right? Do your homework. Let us know how we can do it. You can see I said account manager instead of reseller. Sorry. Okay. Installation is everything. I was privileged to work with the guys again here in Africa, probably some of the best installers I've seen, and I say that because I operate globally. I use them as a reference every day. Installation is everything. We see that of the warranty claims that we have, and they're fortunately very few, probably 70% of in-field failure comes because the unit was not installed properly. The data that you get, if you're looking at accelerometer data, for example, that unit's not secured and it's flopping around inside the dashboard, you're going to get junk. You've got to make sure that installation is done right. We'll help you do that. We give you the guidance. We want it to do it properly because we want you to get the proper information out of it. My final slide. Leverage our flexibility to win. Make sure whatever we need, we can do for you. Ask us. We're looking for the challenges. We're looking for those unusual things that no one else thought of doing. Give us a shout. Let's talk to us. Let's start the engagement. Thank you for your time.